You're worried you're worried you didn't prepare enough.
I don't even know the name of the podcast.
I don't have a name of the podcast yet.
Pump House Fitness Podcast?
I was going to post a cover of because I have like 4 podcasts that I've like kind of like accumulated now.
Which one's mine?
For input or headphones?
Headphones.
These ones here, you want it louder?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can go up. Okay. Do you want to check your mic?
Hey.
Checking 1, 2.
Hey.
Hey,
check. Hi.
I don't even remember how to sound check.
Okay, sorry, I totally interrupted you. I was all weird and stuff. You were talking about you don't have a podcast name yet.
Yeah, so I was actually going to release one the other day, or I was editing at least. And I'm like, I don't have a name for this. I'm just having like conversations with people like I haven't talked to in a long time. I did one with a guy. His name's Mel, and he does like lots of like self-development. He has a whole academy he's built around it. So I had a really great one with him. And then I was like, I still don't know what I'm going to call this. I'm like, it's just like people talking, and like I just kind of want it to be like organic conversation, and like I want it to be motivating. Like for me, like I want to find people who have like a lot of life experience, who've done some stuff that a lot of people don't have experience in doing, and things that like people could only dream of doing, or people that would help people achieve their dreams, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of just wrote something on a cover of it. I just called it Joe Porter Pod Chats.
That's great.
So yeah, I don't know. That might be the name of it.
Pod Chats. Yeah, that's cool. I almost think even going simpler, Joe Porter Podcast. Or is that just too lame? I think
cool.
Pod Chats is cooler, but I think podcast would be easier to find. As long as you have a podcast in the tag somehow to catch it or something.
Yeah,
So if
podcast Pod Chats.
Yeah, because I guess... No, I mean, if somebody searches it and they're like, well, I thought it was the Joe Porter Podcast, but I'm sure it would show up anyways. Because, yeah, you'd probably just have that Joe Porter Pod Chat. But if you search Joe Porter Podcast, it would still show up. Because it'd be in the podcast section anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there only one Joe Porter?
The only other Joe Porter that I've seen come up when I like Google myself is actually an NFL football player.
Let's check if he's on Spotify.
He's much larger than I am.
Yeah, right. You got bum shoulders.
We're talking about like an NFL
Your
linebacker.
shoulders
He's
are
like
the
a
size,
linebacker.
like bigger than my butt cheek.
That makes sense.
my body.
I want to welcome Dave Faber to the Joe Porter Pod Chats.
Joe Porter Pod Chats?
Joe Porter.
Joe Porter.
Dave is a renowned singer, songwriter, and kind of an idiot.
I would agree with the second thing a little more.
Tell me about what you do. What is that you do for a living now?
So with the last little bit, I become a manager. So, and I manage a couple artists right now. My first artist, or the first artist I managed, was Powfu. I don't know. I'm sure you probably know who he is, but maybe the listeners don't.
I know who he is.
You know who he is. The listeners may not. He had a song called Deathbed. He bought a beat offline from a kid for like $20 and wrote a couple verses to it and released it. And it became a massive smash, global smash. And it's got... I think he's one of only 6 or maybe 7 Canadians now that have over 1 billion streams on Spotify for one song. And then, so I manage him. And then I also manage his sister, and her name is Sleeping. Sleep Dotting, and she's featured on a few of the Powfu songs as well. You know, I'm hoping that if I'm here, it's going to be fine, right? Or should I just stay on it the whole time?
I say stay up on it. Like I said, I did that one podcast.
Sounds like a rap song.
The guy was like sitting talking like this.
Yeah.
Record his voice, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, you got to be right up on there.
You got to be up on there.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can check our input levels. If I'm here, hey. And then so if you do have any issues with, do you know much about recording stuff? Because if you do have any issues with the waves after, I could tweak it for you. Like if you just give me the wave and I could make the levels
actually,
better. But if you know what you're doing, then I wouldn't worry about it.
professional in Movie Maker and and GarageBand.
Oh, awesome. Okay, then you
so-
probably get the mastering stuff.
Yeah, I totally get it.
Compression.
I try to make our voices sound boomy and listenable, and not like we're being in a big echo chamber.
I am your conscience.
Yeah. So also on top of all that, Dave and I have actually known each other for a very long time. I've also probably known you longer than you realize. So when I was 13 years old, my parents bought me a guitar, and I got really into. I was already into bands like Blink-182, so I got a guitar and I started playing like Blink-182 songs, MXPX songs, and I started loving live music. So I went and saw you guys at a church when you played in your, I don't know if it would be considered your first band, but I saw you when you guys were Seed.
Oh, crazy.
Before you guys became Faber Drive, and then before you became manager of multi-billion streams artist Powfu. But you've had some really good success and actually a really long career in the music industry as well in Canada, which
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, it was. I feel like we were like middle, middle of the road kind of thing in terms of success. But you know what it's like. Whatever level you get to, you always think you can do more. And,
yeah.
But we were kind of around bands like, I don't know. We were around bands that were we were hanging out with bands that seemed to be a lot bigger than us. So it was like some of the bands, and it was like you're just looking at them going, these guys are like huge, and we had a few songs on the radio. Yeah, and we had a good run.
I still hear your songs on the radio.
You still hear the songs on the radio?
Yeah, like the original Faber Drive tracks. Like
Really?
nobody listens to music like Jumpstart or
I do.
what's the dance one? What's the dance one you guys did?
Dance with somebody. Oh, Get Up and Dance. Sorry, no, I thought you were talking. No, but you guys did one too. These kids
Yeah,
with
I
crowns
danced with
did.
somebody. Yeah. Our cover,
That's
our
an
cover.
awesome cover.
Yeah.
And you know what the funny thing about that? You probably know this story. I feel pretty stupid about it. Alan asked me to sing on it, and then I didn't sing on it.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's lame.
Yeah, no, I actually
don't
didn't know that.
It was bad of me to not do it. But anyways.
You and I feel like both of our bands, we kind of hit the same level kind of thing. We got to do probably a little bit more. You guys went to Singapore and stuff, right?
We did once, yeah.
Yeah, we got to do probably a little bit more.
We toured Singapore. One city.
You know what? You didn't even have to say that. Most people would be like, sick.
Yeah.
But
actually, we did 5 shows in 3 days. But it was for a festival.
We did the same thing. You guys did Music Matters.
You guys
right?
must have done it a year before us then.
We did a year or two before, yeah.
Oh, crazy! Did you guys stay in that crazy hotel? You guys,
No,
the hotel
we did
I'm
it.
talking
Yeah, with
about,
the
though,
boat,
right?
with the resort.
I
on top of it.
tried to convince my
Yeah.
band members, like, guys, I know it was like $500, and I'm like, I know it is, but it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Come on, let's do it, and they wouldn't do it.
Should have paid them more.
I should have paid them more. We were getting paid.
Yeah. No, we wanted to get over there and go up there. And we actually it was like the manager of that. If anybody is wondering what we're talking about, there in Singapore, there's 3 buildings, which is I don't know if they're hotels as well. I think that they are, but they go straight up and right across the top of it. And I'm sure everybody's seen this. But it looks like a big boat with trees on it up top. And it's a huge resort.
Yeah, and there's a big swimming pool on top.
Yeah, it's big swimming pool, palm trees, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's one of those like wonders of the world thing, to me anyway. And Singapore is like an amazing place to be. But when we went there, we went with Music Matters, which I think we did a couple years before you guys. But kind of what I was saying is we kind of hit the same level.
I'm not being a dink right now. I'm trying to find the picture of this hotel. It doesn't do it justice on my little phone, but here's kind of a picture of it. I'll try and show the. Oh shit! This is a lame picture. Sorry, guys. Maybe I can save it. Sorry.
I'll save it and put it as a
Anyways,
blur.
that's it.
Yeah,
there.
it's beautiful.
But I don't know if you can see it on there, guys.
Yeah,
Maybe if Joe has his super editing skills, he can flash
I can do
a
that.
picture of it
I can actually do that.
and then get sued.
I wonder if that can happen. I don't know what I can be sued for, and
Yeah, you
I
just-
just feel like I'm not making money, so it's very unlikely.
What are you gonna sue
And
you
I have
for?
like, I don't even think I have one
coffee?
view. I don't have one view yet. So
Are you going to record a certain amount before you?
I want to get good at it,
Mm-hmm.
and like I've done a couple good ones, but like the audio, like I did one where it's like the guy was a little too far away from the microphone, and it literally didn't record his vocals.
Brutal.
So I was like, it's just literally me.
Hey, check. Yeah. Hey,
me going
hey.
back and forth, and it's just kind of like I keep fucking them up. And then like I did one, DJ Temple.
Sounds familiar.
So I did one with him yesterday too, and it was actually the audio is great, and like it was the first like success kind of thing. The one with Adam Bessie, one of the files got corrupted, audio files got corrupted. in the first 30 minutes. So it's like I try to take like a couple clips out of it and maybe because we talked about some motivational stuff and I was like, maybe I can use that as like clips on Instagram or something.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use the stuff that even I've screwed up on, but I'd like to have like, say like 5 in my back pocket and then just kind of as they go. Cause I want to be more consistent with it. And I feel like that's one thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to do a podcast, and then they'll be like, oh, I haven't done one in 2 weeks. I haven't done one. It's like you kind of you need to get the ball rolling and momentum on it. So I'm literally like every day messaging a couple people. Like I messaged you a couple times about this.
I blew you off a few times.
Did, yeah. I wasn't good enough for Dave Faber, manager of multi-billion
I did not. I didn't even blow you off once on this.
No, you didn't.
I was like, sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So we both had kind of like the same kind of like pop careers, I guess. Yours was much longer than mine. But I also had the opportunity
to meet Justin Bieber.
I did.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't meet him. We were at Much Music. What was their MMVAs?
Yeah.
So we were at the MMVAs and I went into the bathroom at Much Music and I was peeing in the urinal and the door swung open and 4 massive black men walked in. And I was like, what the hell? I'm like, and then this little kid comes out and he starts being in the urinal beside me. And the most common question is did I look? I did not. Did not.
That's awesome. I met Justin once too. I'm kind of buddies with his dad. I am buddies with his dad, Jeremy. We haven't talked in a while, but yeah, Justin. I met Justin, I met him one time backstage. Actually, I met him twice, I think. He was praying backstage before one of his shows, and they were like doing a prayer before. You know, you go on stage, you do a little huddle kind of thing, and he asked me to join, and so I joined in the prayer. He just prayed, but that was pretty cool. And then I met him another time at the Juno Awards in Newfoundland. His dad Jeremy walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm Jeremy Bieber," and then Justin walked up right behind him and shook my hand, and it was cool.
Yeah,
nice kid.
Yeah,
hardworking.
Yeah, I think you got to be. And that was kind of what I wanted to ask next is like for someone, I mean, you're quite a bit older than I am.
45, only 45.
I just turned 36.
You're 10 years, you're in diapers still, man.
Yeah, I know. But for someone like this is something that's always kind of intrigued me. And I know you and I have both kind of like lived this in different ways, but like you're someone that I really look up to because it's like, there's not a lot of people that follow their passions. And you're someone who I've literally watched since I was 13 years old. And I've seen you do some other things, but I went from not being a musician, watching you play, to being a musician, watching you play, to being in a band and playing with you, to going on tour with you and working for you. And then to now, it's like I was, 2 years ago, I was driving down the street and I heard Powfu on there. And I'm like, this sounds like Faber's kid.
You actually recognized his voice?
Yeah, I recognized it.
Wow.
And I was like, I still had I'm a Geek on my phone. Like I still had it on iTunes, like from when he was, how old is he? 13?
Yeah, he had to been about 13, yeah.
Yeah, and like, so I still had that on my phone. And I called you right away. And like, we joked about it. And I almost felt a little bad after the conversation because I know how hard you've worked. And I know how hard that we worked for it. But I was like, I made the joke being like, how does it feel that your son's been doing this for like 2 years and we all fought for it for
Oh, yeah.
But like, as someone who focused for so long on music and someone who still now like you at like kind of how I transitioned into all these different areas of music, you have kept doing the same and now you're in management and now it's like your kids are involved in it and they're succeeding on like a really high level. But a lot of that would be based off of the work ethic that you would have instilled into them, the struggle that they watched you go through, the whole process of watching you in the music industry. It's like all those talents and stuff, they didn't come from nowhere. Mm. Like that's passed on. But like for someone starting, if I was 13, what you would have been, I mean, you've been playing music longer than when you were like say 23 or 24, right? But at that point, like how do you stay so consistent and so like driven to do one thing? And like our bands were, I would say they were successful, but not to the point where they were sustainable. Like, there's no way, like, you couldn't feed your family and everything on, like what we had 6 guys in our band. It's like, we started making, like, okay money, but it wasn't anything to write home about, but we were doing what we loved to do, and that was enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how do you stay so motivated to the point where you're like, and you don't grow resentful of the industry to the point where you've had such a long career and some huge ups and downs, but now you're in this point where you are dealing with some amazing successes and you're able to have the knowledge to like manage it and whatnot.
Yeah, no, thanks, Joe. I didn't know. I didn't know about the seed thing. I don't think, or you might have told me in the past, but sometimes my memory for certain things, I don't know. So thanks. That means a lot.
I brought it on the tour bus and we rocked it on the tour bus, but
the seed CD.
Yeah, we were kind of inebriated.
Typical. No. Yeah. I mean, honestly, for me, the base of my life, my foundation is God. Mm-hmm. I know I'm not perfect. I've screwed up so many times. I've done so many things wrong in my life. But I also know at the same time, everybody's screwed up in some way, shape, or form. Nobody's perfect. And I know in my heart that God has blessed me and my family in I don't necessarily think in materialistic things. I just think in for instance, the best person I've ever known in my entire life was my dad. He passed away when I was 19. And he loved God. He loved Jesus. He wasn't a pushover. He didn't look like anything special. He looked like a homeless guy, to be totally honest. He would go into church. He'd go into meetings. He'd go wherever wearing his work clothes. And he had a big beard and a gruffy hair. And I mean, saying he looked homeless is probably a little bit exaggerated, but he didn't look like anything special. But he was very courageous. He would like pick up. I remember he would have hitchhikers sleep at our house. 7 kids.
Yeah.
And he'd have hitchhikers sleep. And I remember telling my little brother about this one time. I'm like, I don't know if I could do that, like have a hitchhiker. And I was like, I don't think I could sleep through the night. Like, I don't know how Dad would do that and sleep through the night. My little brother said to me, how do you know he slept? And I'm like, well, you got a point. That's very true. But he would do these things out of the kindness of his heart because he wanted to help people. He wanted to be a good person. He wanted to be like Jesus. And that was the biggest inspiration I've ever had. And you know how they say a blessing and a curse. You know, it was very hard losing my dad when I was 19, especially being my hero.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it was a blessing at the same time because it made me see life in a completely different angle. When you have somebody that close to you pass away, you think about life differently. I don't know. You just think about it differently, I feel. And so that God has been the biggest base. And like, I brought a few books. So I brought Atomic Habits. I brought Living with a Seal, and I brought the NIV Bible. And those are kind of like, those are 3 of my, I'm reading Living with the Seal and I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. I've been reading kind of the Bible my whole life, but I just brought a few, like 3 books just to get some, things that are like encouraging and like you were saying, I can't remember what you were saying about the podcast. You want it to be like motivational.
Like motivational. And I want people to be able to take away something from it. That's why I want people with like life experience and who've achieved things that like, for me personally, it's a huge thing that you followed your dreams your entire life. Right? Like from your early years to now, you're still in the music industry. Like that's just your passion. You followed it. It's like very rare. Whereas then a lot of people would be like, oh, well, what are you going to university for? Well, I guess I'll take business or accounting. Oh, so now you're an accountant. Do you love accounting? Well, no, but it pays well. Yeah. It's like, I couldn't live like that.
Yeah.
Like personally, I just can't do it.
Well, dude, I look at you too, man, with this whole gym you have here. Pump House Fitness is the full name. Sorry, I know what the name is.
Pump House Fitness Incorporated.
Yeah, I've been coming here for a year and a half now. And the fact that you followed your dream and you stuck it out, man, and it seems like you're doing better than ever right now. And like I'm like so happy for you, man. Like it's amazing what you're doing and all the stuff you've been through too, man. It's like I don't know. And at the same time, maybe from the outside it looks like I've had this life of like, I followed my dreams, but I didn't get signed till I was 30 years old.
Yeah.
I released 2 full-length albums when I was a teenager with my high school band that, did okay. And then I released 2 full-length CDs with my pop punk band Seed when I was like early 20s, late teens. And I was extremely frustrated at that point because what happened after we recorded the 2 albums, we were together for maybe 3 or 4 years. Both the other guys quit. It was a 3-piece pop punk band.
Yeah.
And I got super frustrated, but one of the things I did at that point was I turned that frustration into fuel for the fire to find a better producer and just push harder. I remember being so angry. I remember walking around in the basement and like with the CD and being like, what the freak? Like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why? I in my mind, like, I think, okay, I don't know. I think probably some people are like this. I don't know if everybody's like this or what, but I'm like, I'm bad at this. I'm bad at this. I screwed up this. Like, why did these guys quit? I pointed at myself, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're still two of my best friends. They had really good reasons to quit. They had families. We weren't making any money, right?
Yeah.
They were married. They just had young kids. It's like, you're not making any money. What are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing that was a setback for me was after the Faber Drive stuff. Like Faber Drive is still sort of doing some stuff, but so about 7 years ago, I was like very frustrated with the music industry and just like trying to make a living. And I was like, I'm not making a living. It seems like everything I do, I'm doing it wrong. And the guys in Faber Drive were kind of doing other bands, and we were still together. But I was just like, you know what? I am not paying the bills. I wasn't making enough money to pay the bills, so I started driving truck. And I became a POC firefighter, paid on call firefighter, part-time firefighter. And I did that for 5 years. Well, I was a paid on call firefighter for 2 years. And then I got out of that because after being a truck driver, a cement truck driver for 2 years and a paid on call firefighter, and I had my family, after the 2 years without music for me, like it was kind of like 2 years where I didn't really do any music. I was like, I have to do music. And I didn't want to become a full-time firefighter because I know how hard that can be on family life. And I know that it can be good too, but for me, I just didn't want to do it. And so I kept the truck driving job, but I quit the firefighting because I needed to do music. So for the next 3 years, I would do some music in the evenings and on weekends, but I'd hang out with my family. I didn't want to lose my family. And I drove truck to pay the bills for 5 years. And then Powfu blew up.
Yeah.
So Powfu was kind of working like that whole time. But yeah, so I've had moments in my life, like even, yeah, so there's been lots of moments. I don't know. You know what it's like.
Yeah,
you have these lows and highs.
Yeah, I feel like this is exactly what I want people to get out of this is that you went through extreme adversity. For a lot of times, no benefit, or what seemed like no benefit, but what you were taking out of those, all those experiences. Like everybody saw us playing big shows. Like you've played NHL arenas in Canada. I've played NHL arenas in Canada. We played to like huge audiences.
Yeah,
and like
such a rush.
And literally the next day, you fly home, and I'd go back to my painting job.
Yeah.
Right. So people saw these like, oh, you guys have this budget of $126,000 to shoot this massive like music video. You guys must be rolling in it. We're recording albums. We're touring all over the world. But realistically, we weren't getting paid. Like the money that I made when I was home. Right. So it's like people were like, oh, these guys are famous. They're doing all this. And like, I mean, all the guys in the band, like we'll all say we're Z-list Canadian celebrities.
You were what?
Z-list.
I don't even know what that means.
So you got like A-list celebrities and B-list celebrities. So we're at the very far end, right? So like we weren't anything. Yeah. But it's like we had success in what we did, but it wasn't like we suffered. Mm-hmm. Like even Alan, like the main songwriter in our band, like he had to so he's a firefighter at the time, and like he would trade shifts with people so that he could go on tour. But the whole thing is when he got back, he would have to pay back all those shifts that were covered for him.
Yeah.
So like you think that all of us were just broke, dead tired. You go home, you work your ass off, you get on the road and you act like party animals and you act like rock stars, and that's the only thing people see because that's the only thing that's worth documenting.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like we all went through like these like huge struggles. And the fact that you're one of those people. I say that I'm one of those people that has always like pushed towards like what I'm passionate about, and that's something that I'm kind of not sure how I got to that point of doing that. It was just kind of a natural thing for me. Mm-hmm. But like through the adversity, and like you took 2 years off of music, and maybe you needed that break to see some more stuff clearly, and maybe but you pushed through all this adversity of like guys quitting bands, labels not doing their part, which we all went through that, or whatever, all the band drama, all that kind of stuff, right? But to keep on going to the point where you're just like, I just love music so much that this is just something I have to do. This is ingrained into me. This is what I'm passionate about. That's what I feel, just like it's such a huge lesson for people, because most people nowadays, I find that they come across any type of resistance and they quit.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't get anything from quitting.
Yeah, no.
Right? So it's like you saw over the years the fruits of your labor. Like you started off, maybe you bought a guitar and then you ended up with 2 albums. That's a huge accomplishment for most people. Like most people who play guitar never record an album.
Yeah.
Right? And then to have that you guys went gold a couple times too, right?
Well, I think we went plywood in Surrey.
You went plywood in Surrey? Fucking A-list celebrity.
Oh, we had a couple platinum and a couple gold in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And that's like something like, I'm sure that you'll always hold on to those. And like, I know that I'm going to be the old guy. And if I have grandkids, I'm going to be like, back in the day, like I was pretty cool. But yeah, and I think that's amazing. So I guess what I wanted, like you brought books, and like a couple of them I know just from the title of them, I know who wrote, well, at least one of them.
Which one?
Willink, right? The Seal one?
Which one?
Who wrote the Seal one?
What did he say?
Willink.
Oh, no, you're talking about Jocko Willink. Yeah,
yeah.
No. What's the one he wrote, though? He wrote, well, I think he wrote a book called Kid Warrior, which I still want to buy.
Yeah.
It's for, like, kids.
Yeah.
Because he was a ranger or a SEAL or something, right?
He was a SEAL, yeah.
No,
I was actually sure. I can't confirm or deny this, and I'm not going to pull up my phone to Google it, but I was pretty sure he had some influence with SEAL Team 6.
I don't even. Oh, the movie?
No, the SEAL Team 6 is who got Osama bin Laden.
Oh, okay. Shows how much I know. No, this is Living with the SEAL. And I actually can't tell you what the guy's name is. I could, because it's common knowledge, but it doesn't tell you who the SEAL is to the very end of the book.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I just want to know who this guy is.
Yeah, okay.
And so I looked at the very end of the book and found out.
It's like self-development, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. This book is okay. So if you got kids listening to this, you might want to cover their ears. This guy, Jesse Itzler, hires a Navy SEAL, and I believe he's an ex-Navy SEAL, to live with him for 30 days. And so Jesse's married with a young boy at the time. He hires this SEAL to live with him. Well, the SEAL's like super SEAL. Like he's like so focused, and he's like it's just hilarious. So anyways, one time they're running and Jesse's like, he reaches down his pants. He's like, oh, dude. He's like, SEAL. She's like, what? He's like, my nuts are bleeding, man. We got to stop. SEAL's like, no, just walk it off, man. Keep going. So he makes him keep running. And it's really interesting to see how your mind and like how a SEAL is trained. Like they basically just kind of push through extreme circumstances, right? That's what they're trained to do, and it's very inspiring. But it's also really funny. There's a lot of things in here that are just hilarious. Yeah, it's a great book.
I'm sure there's movies based off that even.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this whole SEAL thing is like, for me, it's like very inspiring, because you see all the SEALs that became like motivational people afterwards, or like even just military people, maybe not SEALs, but they were just like just very motivational people. But the stuff that they learn in the military is like discipline, consistency. It's like, and it's such a telltale for success and why they're able to push through hard shit.
Right.
It's like, so for like relating it to like, you do much like self-development stuff. Like I dive into it like hard, right? Like,
I don't know if I dive into it. It depends what you mean. Yeah. Like I'm reading Atomic Habits right now. I don't know if that counts.
So that does. Yeah. So figuring out like your habits, your rituals, and then like, one thing that, Mel and I talked about yesterday was values. Figuring out what are your core values in your life, and that's what you kind of base your life around, right? Like what you do for work, what business you start, like how you live your life, who you have around you, who you want to surround yourself with to have the life that you want and design your future.
Yeah.
So like one of the first things that like SEALs and military do is they make their bed. That's the main thing. They have to make their bed every single morning. And if you go through any of the top business people, top motivational speakers, all of them will be like, wake up, make your bed.
Yeah.
It's a habit, and it stops you from getting back in your bed.
Yeah. Yeah. So I to take that a little further, so Denzel Washington has, I think he has one big motivational speech that he does on YouTube or something. But one of the things I think he says, make your bed, but then he also says, put your shoes or your slippers or whatever under your bed so that you're forced to get on your knees and pray every morning and thank the Lord for the day.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, that's one thing. And then another one in this Living with the SEAL book, to go in line with what you're saying. I love that, Joe, by the way. And I have been making my bed, I think, every day I used to make it a bit, but then when I heard, I think it was either Jocko Willink or somebody else that said it, and I was like, it just really clicked. Then I make sure that I make my bed every day.
Yeah. I get into them like so much that like there's certain ones that I listen to and I just take everything they say to heart. And like to the point where if I don't do it, I'll like beat myself up about it. Right. So it's like
physically beat yourself.
Yeah. I'll physically throw myself off the balcony. So yeah, so there's a couple of them and it's like, make your bed. Right.
Yeah.
Even before that, I forget her name, but she's a big motivational speaker. And she says, do the 3, 2, 1 count or 5 to 1 count, whatever it is, like NASA, like it's a rocket. They're like, when you hear your alarm go off, they're like, the biggest mistake you can do is hit snooze, because when you hit snooze, you're accepting a failure already. That's your first decision in the day, is being like, I'm just going to relax and lay in bed and sleep a little bit more. And you decide to go against what your actual plan was, because by setting that alarm, you set an intention in your head to get up
right
at that time.
Yeah.
So it's a part of it is just like staying true to yourself and being like, I told myself I would do this. And so she says, when your alarm goes off, you go 3, 2, 1, move. And it's her whole theory on it is like, before that 3 count is up, your brain, your inner bitch side of your brain, as Andy Frisella would say, doesn't have time to tell you stay in bed longer. So as soon as you hear that alarm goes off, you have to condition yourself to be 3, 2, 1, go. So you do that, you make your bed.
Have you tried it?
Absolutely.
And how's it going?
It's great. Like I have a little bit different work schedule than I've ever had in my life. Like I wake up a bit later. I typically don't wake up to an alarm anymore, which I love, right?
Oh, so you just wake up naturally?
I just wake up naturally now, and I typically just wake up when the sun comes up, kind of thing.
That's so cool.
And it's one of those things where it's like, and it goes against a lot of like the motivational speakers that.
But I've met somebody recently who's a very, very successful businessman.
Yeah.
And he does the same thing. He told me, I'm like, oh, dude, you probably get up really early. He's like, no, I wake up whenever I wake up, and it's usually around 7 or 8. He said,
yeah.
I'm like, what? You don't wake up till 7 or 8?
Yeah. My thing is, we all have the same 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
And if you want to wake up at 4 a.m. and then go to bed at 9 p.m. or whatever, I can get up at 8 and I can go to bed at midnight.
Yeah.
Right, like we all have the same 24 hours in a day. It's like sometimes I find if I can stay up late, I have less distractions because less people are awake.
Right.
You know, it's like there's less happening on social media. There's less happening. So it's like I can tune myself out. People aren't text messaging. People aren't calling for help with the gym.
Right.
So if I stay up through those certain hours, it's like I'm actually can work or study or do anything I want with like no distraction.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, it's totally different because like when I first got into fitness, I'm like I wanted to be the badass guy who woke up at 3 a.m. I had just like The Rock. I had already done 2 workouts before anybody else that was even awake.
Yeah.
You know, and I was that guy. And that's what a lot of motivational speakers speak. And I think that that's a great habit to get into is, you know, wake up early because you can have those hours in the morning when nobody's awake.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. We all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah,
my preference right now, and maybe it'll change because I feel like as things go, discipline changes, or like schedules change or whatever. But I'm perfectly comfortable waking up when I wake up now, and I just based on that, I want to make sure that I get my 6 to 8 hours sleep, and then I work the rest of the day, and I feel comfortable doing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this was another one that I found very motivational and encouraging. Every day do something that makes you uncomfortable. SEAL. And another one that I've been doing recently too is in the shower. It was actually my brother-in-law who kind of you've probably heard about all this stuff. I don't know if you've tried it yourself or not, but I love it. So this one of the things that I make myself do that's uncomfortable is in the shower. I'll get in, I'll make it warm when I get in, but then like after I'm done washing or whatever, I'll put it to like cold, like not freezing cold. Usually I'm not that good yet, but like cold where it's like colder than a swimming pool, kind of cold.
Yeah.
And I love it because it takes the breath out of me for a second, but it's like you're fighting. You're doing something that's uncomfortable, and I think that's important is to push yourself.
So that is a highly recommended thing to do for many reasons. You can do it when you wake up, or you can do it before you go to bed. A lot of people recommend doing it before bed.
Really?
Because you get an adrenaline dump from it. What? So you'll actually almost, in a way, fatigue yourself. So you'll get in there, and you'll have like an adrenaline rush.
It shrivels up, though.
No, but you get an adrenaline rush, and the longer you can stay in there, like, have you heard of Wim Hof?
Yeah.
So this is his whole theory, right? So ice baths or exposing yourself to cold temperatures and doing uncomfortable things, right? But his thing is when you're in the cold, it's like your body actually starts producing like 300% more dopamine, And so it's like what they're saying is like these disciplines that you can get in your mind to staying in these uncomfortable situations are actually in a lot of ways the cures for a lot of like depression, anxiety, PTSD,
right,
and that kind of stuff, because it actually like it regulates your hormones. So like if you can manage to do that, you'll actually end up getting better sleeps. You'll end up producing more of the healthy hormones that you want in your body. You promote your body healing more, right? Because when you're in those situations, your body starts healing faster. But yeah, there's so many health benefits to it. And again, it's just the discipline of forcing yourself to do something that you're uncomfortable in doing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's like a very common one. And it's like, I hate the cold.
Yeah.
I hate it. Went to Whistler. They have these like pools where you spend like 10 minutes in hot, 10 minutes in warm, or like a sauna or something like that. And then you go into like a really cold pool. And so the whole
there's a warm and a hot, right?
Yeah.
And the warm and the hot, they're just hot tubs or are they pools?
They're like hot tubs. Yeah, but
is the cold a pool?
Yeah. So it's all pools, and then
you could swim in the cold.
Yeah, it's like the size of a hot tub. Like
I gotta look it up.
it's like a resort.
I'm not gonna look it up right now. I'm just gonna type it in my phone. So don't think I'm like.
And so I hate the cold. So the whole time I spent all this time in the hot because I was relaxing. And the other thing is you have to be like extremely silent the entire time because it's a meditative experience for people.
Yeah.
So which was awesome.
What was the name again? Sorry.
Scandinavian Spa in Whistler. But yeah, so it was awesome because like at the end of it, I decided, you know what, I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to go in the cold pool. And I went in the cold for as long as I could, which was like not long at all, but felt like forever. I pretty much just got in and I actually did dunk my head all the way under. And I got out and I ran to the hot tub and I went in the hot tub and like that feeling that you had going from the extreme cold to the hot was just like that sensation going through your body. I'd never really felt it before, but like the internal rush that you get from that. And I wouldn't say like I've had adrenaline rushes, but I wouldn't put it as like an adrenaline rush, but like the benefits that you get from that cold are like widely known as like hugely beneficial.
Nice.
Yeah, you're looking at it like something. we're just sketched out.
No, that's crazy. So, is it expensive?
It was like $113 a person, but you can stay there all day.
Stay there all day. What time does it open? What time does it close?
Well, I mean, Google exists.
Yeah,
you can just
such a thing. What's it called again?
Scandinavian Spa.
No, the other thing you said.
Google?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. What is that?
Internet. Google is the internet. But yeah, it was a cool experience, and like I would love to one day go out, just head up there by myself.
Yeah.
And legitimately try the entire experience of being like dead quiet the entire time.
If you showed up with a bottle of whiskey and a couple buddies, probably not a good idea.
They're not going to let you in. They're not going to let you in. But yeah, so it was really neat in that aspect, and like for me, it's I really focus on trying to find ways to control my mind
Yeah.
I do feel like I have like an overactive mind a lot of the times. I'm an overthinker.
Yeah.
What I typically do, like even at home, like those nights where you're like you fall asleep and you can't shut off your mind.
Honestly,
like,
I don't.
You don't get that?
My wife
just
my
pass
wife.
out.
Sorry, my wife struggles with it.
Yeah.
I don't. For some reason, sleep has never. Sometimes, if there's a huge event the next day,
Yeah.
I've had it where I can't sleep. But
Yeah.
usually, I can sleep.
Yeah.
And one thing that I found, if like I'm feeling a little restless, one of the best things. Every night I try to read the Bible now, and usually I'll pass out. I always try to read at least one Bible verse. So that's like
Yeah.
a good man obtains favor from the Lord, but the Lord condemns a crafty man. So, like, I'll try to read just that, right?
Yeah.
But then what'll happen is I'll just continue to read, and then usually I pass out.
Yeah.
But any kind of reading, I find I'll pass out when I'm reading.
Yeah.
And then I just, okay, I got to turn off my nightlight or whatever.
Yeah.
Nightlight. I got a bright light nightlight.
Is it like like a
Scooby-Doo?
Snow White one or
Yeah, Snow White. Yeah.
no, I like for me, like I've never been a reader. Like
Right.
I can read.
Yeah.
Try me, but
Yeah.
but no, for me it's like I listen to a lot of audio. I listen to podcasts. I listen
Right.
to
So you listen to books on.
Yeah. Or like in the morning, when I wake up, I just go on YouTube. YouTube Premium has been like one of the best investments for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I could just go on there because there's no ads or whatever, and I just put on whoever I want to listen to that day, or like I'll put on motivational speeches just from like whoever, and that's how I just wake up in the morning. I have my coffee and I just have that going on my house, right? And I have Google, so before I go to bed, I do it every single night regardless of if I have a busy mind or whatnot, but I listen to the rain sounds, and that typically will put me to sleep. But I've found that like alongside like one thing you learn, and kind of something I've been focusing on since the Scandinavian spa, is like the silence and being able to control your mind to not have those racing thoughts, and to learn to quiet your mind.
Yeah.
To be calm, to be that kind of thing. So it's like something I've worked really hard on, and I started off by doing like guided meditations on YouTube, and then like I would pass out to those, and those would tell you like you're holding tension in your face, and it's something you don't even think about. Like I never thought about it before. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to relax my face, got to relax my shoulders, lay on my back, and just let my body feel like it's just sinking into the mattress, and breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth, through your diaphragm, like that kind of stuff. And now I don't even need the guided. Now I can just be like, I'll realize that I'm at a point where I'm like, I'm not going to fall asleep very fast if my mind keeps acting like this.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I'll just will go lay on my back and start breathing and do like the breath work, and then try to relax every single muscle in my body, and now I can just pass out.
Wow. Did you? And you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. So it's up to you. But and don't. Yeah. If you're just like I don't want to answer that right now or whatever. I don't know, but I'm asking because I'm thinking of the listeners.
Yeah.
Did you ever take like anxiety medication?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got to the point where I was on, it was like a kind of a medication that's used for anxiety and depression.
Yeah.
Mostly for anxiety, but it was, I've definitely used those. And when I went on it, it was one of those situations where it's like, you need to take this.
Right. It seemed like it was really bad at that time.
I was just in a place in my life where I just felt completely hopeless.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things. And to this day, like, I grew up my whole life being like anti-medication. Like, I don't like taking medication. I don't like being a person that's dependent on things. But I took it, and that's when I kind of like changed my perspective about medication. So I still have this conversation with people. They're like, well, you don't want to be dependent on that. I'm like, well, actually, I might not be here if I didn't take it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like there's sides to that coin that I think that some people don't realize, is that it's helping you balance out chemicals in your brain. Yeah. So that you can move on to fix it. Yeah. But the goal is to fix it. The goal for me was always to fix it. Yeah. Right. So but I'm not on it anymore. Yeah. And I feel great.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I recently met, me and my wife recently met a lady, a friend of ours, and she was on anxiety medication for I believe 30 to 35 years of her life, and a year ago, so right in the middle of COVID, she decided to quit. There was I can't remember what the things that happened, but she was like, you know what, I'm gonna quit, and like you can. She's a fairly emotional person. Like when we met her, like when I met her, and at Save On Foods, and she kind of just started crying, like right in the store, and then later we went to their house. Me and my wife went and met them, and she's just an emotional person. So I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it was encouraging, but it's also, it's hard to hear that somebody's been on something for that long and then to try to come off, and I don't know, it's hard, but you know what, at the same time
it fucks you up
really
when you come off, like it's
really?
like, even if you lower your dose, like I cut it out, like I lowered my dosage a couple times, and then I just kind of forgot to take it one day, and then I forgot to take it the day after that, and then I started feeling the symptoms of withdrawal on it.
Wow.
And it's very uncomfortable.
Really?
I was like, I'm already here, which means I'm already halfway through it.
What?
And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just not going to do it. And it probably, I got off it faster than if I was lowering my dosages.
Yeah.
But it's much more uncomfortable.
Right.
You know what? And I think that if I wasn't at a point where I was ready to come off of it,
yeah,
it would have been a disaster.
Right. And
know?
obviously, for anybody listening, we're not saying we're doctors by any means. Don't take our advice for any of this type of stuff.
I completely support people, and I am a huge advocate for people who need medication to balance their hormones, right? But it's I just feel like there's still just a huge stigma behind all that, where it's like people judge people who are on medications. People think that medications are handed out too easy, which sure they could be.
Yeah.
But there's people who need it. I needed it. Like when I got to that point, like I literally felt like I had blacked out, and I woke up in my shower and there was a knife beside me.
Wow.
So it's like I got to that point, and this is kind of like where. When I guess full circle with some of this conversation that we've had is like when you come to, and the conversation I had yesterday with Mel was like the values that you have in your life on who you surround yourself with. Yeah. I've always chased my passion. So it's not like I was stressed out with my business. It's not like I didn't enjoy fitness anymore. It's like I think I was still at a point where I even was doing a few gigs for you guys, but it was like, I had no reason to not enjoy my life, but it came down to the people around me not having the same core values that I did. Right. And I'm not saying they're bad people. We just didn't align. Right. And it was just like, I was hanging out with people that, didn't align with my thinking, didn't align with where I wanted my life to go. I just needed, I did a whole clean out of my entire life.
Wow. Let's, if you want to, we don't have to, this is your podcast, but I've been listening to a bunch of podcasts lately, and I'm inspired by some of the things that they say. I love like exercise, and I think I remember you talking about that you were in some martial arts, as a kid kind of thing.
I have my black belt.
Do you really?
Yeah, I have my black belt in Shotokan karate.
Shogun karate?
Shotokan karate.
Cool. Did you ever go to Japan?
Karate. No.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah, not for that, no.
I was so naive when I was 19 years old that I went to Japan. This is right before my dad passed away. Went to Japan to go. It was some missionary thing, or we were building things out there, building like houses and churches and stuff. And I went with my big brother, but I was so naive that I thought when I was going to go to Japan that it was going to be a whole bunch of bamboo sticks everywhere, Mr. Miyagi and Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Like that's what I thought it was like.
Yeah.
People doing karate everywhere. I got there. I was so shocked, man. Technology is way more advanced than what we have in North America.
Yeah.
The streets are half the size of our streets. Mm-hmm. I felt very claustrophobic.
Yeah.
The people are awesome people. It was very interesting. It was a culture shock. It was a massive culture shock, but for everything that I was not expecting. And I didn't actually realize the culture shock until I came back to Canada, because I was like, whoa, this is messed up. I was there for 2 months, and it was awesome, man. The one thing that I remember about Japan, sorry, this is not very motivational, but it's very interesting. So, on almost every street that I remember when I was there was a coffee machine. So like you can buy like a coffee, like you can't like a Red Bull, but a hot coffee or a cold coffee.
Yeah.
And there was right beside it a beer machine. And I remember telling the Japanese people, I was like, "What? Like you guys have beer machines on your street?" I said, "We couldn't do that in like Canada or like North America because all the kids would be buying all the beer and drinking it."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, like the kids won't do that in Japan because it's like their culture is just so different. They don't really break laws. They just, if there's a rule, they follow the rules kind of thing. That they're more like that. Their culture is more like that." But it was interesting. I don't know why I went off that tangent, but you said something about Japan, or no, we were talking about you. So you got your black belt.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you started getting into Shotokan
karate? I was 13.
Wow.
I did the same year that I started playing guitar.
Really?
I started doing both those things, and I obsessed over both.
Really?
Yeah.
And then how old were you when you kind of stopped?
18 or 19.
Wow.
Yeah. So I did it a long time. I got very competitive with it.
Really?
I got very competitive with it, and it kind of just came down to I moved out of the house, so then I had to start paying my own bills.
How old were you when you moved out of the house?
I was 16.
Wow.
So I was 16 when I was out, and kind of just went out. I thought I was pretty badass, but I ended up living with my friend's parents. I was like, I'm so independent now. But yeah, no, I ended up out at 16, and it was just kind of one of those points where it was one of those things that wasn't as important as playing music in pop punk bands to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And then how old were you when you got into These Kids Wear Crowns?
23.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you guys were a band for 5 years? More than that? 7 years?
Yeah, it was
Less?
probably a little more than that. I would say like 6 or 7 years kind of
Right.
thing. That's when we were touring. And like the last couple of years is like, we had a couple of years where we played over 200 shows in a year.
Wow.
And then we had like probably our last couple of years is like we would specifically just make sure that they were like paid gigs, city money,
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff, you know?
Festivals, anchor dates kind of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. Crazy. And did you grow up in Chilliwack?
Born and raised.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, born and raised in Chilliwack. Yeah.
Very cool. Brothers or sisters?
Younger sister, older brother.
Right. So you're the middleman.
Yeah, middle child. So that's like every kid who runs off with a rock band.
Is the middle child looking for attention?
Looking for validation.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Turn my mic up a bit.
Yeah. No, it was good. I'm happy that I grew up in Chilliwack as like a younger kid. Like, you know how it goes. Did you grow up in Mission?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Well, kind of. I was born in Ladner, lived
Yeah.
there for 5 years. We moved to Surrey, lived there for another 5 years, then we moved to Mission.
Okay.
So I was 10 years old when I
Yeah.
moved to Mission. I'm 45 now. We moved to Chilliwack 2 years ago. So we were in Mission for 33 years, I guess.
Yeah, I love that I grew up here, and I think that any kid who is a teenager, or whatever, you hit that phase where you're like, I hate this place.
Yeah.
But I ended up backpacking Germany at a fairly young age of, I think I was like 19, and I went there, and I ended up backpacking a lot of Western Germany by myself.
By yourself?
Yeah, and I got like, it was so awesome because I was catching like these trains and meeting these people in pubs. And at that point, I was not like, I've always been like more of an introvert, right? Whereas in like, I get my energy from being by myself and relaxing, right? And that's what gives me the energy to go out and deal with people, you know? And it's like,
That's like my wife.
yeah, but you know, some people, it's like they get their energy from being around people.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Right.
Right? It's
Yeah.
like I need that downtime.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like so I got out of Chilliwack and I went and I traveled a bit. And I got to see these huge rolling hills and these like this not ancient, but like old European like architecture and culture and all this kind of stuff. And it was like such a different experience that I'm like, oh, I don't want to go back to Chilliwack. Like I just don't. I'm like, it's so like small and the people and like I know everybody. And then I went back to Chilliwack and I was like, these mountains are huge. Like compared to Germany, it was all rolling hills, right? So I was
Right.
like, or what I saw of it was like all rolling hills, which I'd never seen that before. So I was like, when I got back to Chilliwack, I was amazed by how beautiful it was here.
Wow.
Right. And that's where I gained like a whole new appreciation, and I've kept that appreciation through the whole thing. I actually live in Abbotsford now. I think you knew that.
Yeah.
I moved out like over a year ago, but it's just like it's 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
So same kind of thing, but it's I love the area. Like BC is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And you know, it's funny you say that too, because when I was a kid, I remember my dad, like, we were like, I grew up here, so all I've ever seen was mountains since I was a baby before I could walk. But I remember my dad, we'd be driving around and my dad would be like, oh, the mountains are so beautiful. Like, praise God. These are like awesome mountains.
Yeah.
And I was always like, yeah, you know, it's cool, right? And then when I went to Japan and seeing it, they don't have rolling hills, but well, Mount Fuji, you could see Mount Fuji from where I was, but sometimes. But there just wasn't mountains. And then even touring across Canada, like the prairies of Canada are like...
People live there.
Yeah, people live there. Or the beautiful people there. But
I was like, I couldn't stand driving across.
Yeah. And then, totally massive appreciation for the gorgeous mountains we have out here.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
When you leave Calgary, traveling west, and you're literally driving, and I feel like it's like, I mean, I have a bit of an imagination, but it's like when you're driving towards the Rockies, it literally, from a distance, looks like a wall. It looks like it's straight out of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're driving into like the area of the orcs or something like that. You know? It's so, when you get into there with like Banff and all those places, it's like, it's the most beautiful place in the world I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you're driving through the Rockies into BC, and in BC, you go up to Whistler. Whistler's like one of my favorite places on the planet.
Yeah.
Especially in winter, right? And it's, we live in a crazy place.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really cool. I have a couple other motivational things too. I'm going to read one more out of Proverbs here.
Yeah.
And then I want to read a couple out of Atomic Habits too, if that's cool.
Yeah.
So this is Proverbs 12, verse 28. In the way of righteousness, there is life. Along that path is immortality. That was 28. This is 25. An anxious heart weighs a man down, but a kind word cheers him up. Mm-hmm. So I just love that type of stuff, you know, just encouraging stuff.
That the anxious heart one.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like that's huge. Like if you can dissect that into like what that means, like with being kind to people.
Yeah.
Like if you are feeling anxious and like the world's kind of like weighing on your shoulders and whatnot, and then you start practicing kindness and you start practicing gratitude.
Yeah.
Your life will change. Like for me, I have a book specifically for writing things I'm grateful for in.
Wow.
Right. And I try to do that. And sometimes I completely shit the bed on it, but it's like, I try to make sure I write down things I'm grateful for every single morning. I try to write down things I want to do in the day and how I want my day to go, kind of thing. Like, what's my goal today? Well, I want to change one person's life.
Wow.
You know? And I'm like, so my whole day is I try to set myself up with like a grateful heart. Right. So, and just like try to be kind to people and set those goals for yourself that are like attainable. It's like, I feel like in a world where we're so into like material things, you know, it's like so many people would be like, I want to make $1,500 today. It's like, I want to change someone's life.
Yeah.
That's where I find value. Right? Like, sure, it feels good to make money. Like, we all need money, and like money can contribute to happiness or whatever, right? But like, happiness is always in process. So in that, it's like, if it's in process, there's multiple things that can make you happy. For me, it's like if a kid walks in this room and he doesn't believe that he can lift a certain amount of weight, and I can help him to believe that, I literally just changed his belief system.
Yeah.
Right. And it's somewhere in his head, and what he does with it, that's up to him. But it's like, or him or her. And it's like, what they do with that is they'd be like, oh, I didn't think I could do this. And then I realized that I could. So what other things in my life am I looking at through the wrong lens?
Yeah.
You know, and I find that like such a
you know
crazy
what?
lesson.
Okay. I got, now that you said that, I got one more that goes along sort of with what you're saying. So, this is chapter 12, verse 16. A fool shows his annoyance at once, but a prudent man overlooks an insult.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, the kindness thing. And it's like, for me, one thing that my dad, sometimes I did see my dad get offended, right? And and I think I do it too sometimes. I get it. Sometimes I'm easily offended.
Everyone does. Yeah.
And it's like, but if you can look past that, my younger brother Josh, he's a really wise man, I feel. And he one time we were in a restaurant and the waitress was just being just annoying, like kind of. I felt like she was being a jerk.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not leaving her a tip. And my brother Josh is like, what? Why would you do that? And I was like, well, she's not doing a good job. And he's like, how do you know her mom didn't die today? How do you know her boyfriend didn't just break up with her and threaten to kill her?
Yeah.
Like, sorry, that was pretty harsh. But like you don't know what's going on. And he's like, you got to be kind and loving no matter what the outside circumstance is.
And grace for people.
Yeah.
Have that grace, right?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I take that one step further?
Yeah.
So like with that kind of stuff, it's like I've hit points in my life, especially, and this is probably where I was more struggling with like my mental health stuff with like, I was like riddled with anxiety and depression, all that kind of stuff, is I was so emotionally responsive and I had no control over my thoughts. Right. So that's why I got into listening to the rain. That's why I got into the meditation stuff, is because I wanted to control my mind. Right. So that when stuff like that did come up, that I wasn't emotionally responsive to it. Whereas then I could actually like calm my mind and be like, you know what, I can like see the different views, different perspectives that people are coming from. And like, I don't have to agree with everybody says, but I also don't have to fight them over it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
Because some people, it's a total waste of your time and a waste of your emotion. And some people are just out there to trigger people.
Yeah.
Right. And that's just what they're trying to do, whether they know it or not. It's like, so for me, it's like, and I've said this to many friends over the last year, is like protecting my peace that's my main goal.
Yeah.
Whoever comes into my life, it's like if I start feeling like a disturbance in the peace, they're out.
Right.
I have to protect that. Right.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have that as like the person that I am, who I know what it felt like to be as anxious and depressed as I was, I'm like, I'm not ever allowing that back in my life ever again.
Right. Right.
You know, so it's like you said, it's like different, like that's taking that a little bit further, but practicing kindness, and you don't have to react to everything everybody says.
Yeah.
And just controlling your own thoughts, like controlling your own emotions, right? And that's gonna benefit you as being a father, as being a husband, as being a businessman, as being anything, right?
Yeah.
It's just like when someone comes up to you and says something, and maybe they, like you said, maybe their person passed away or they had something happen in their life that was traumatic, and like the way they speak to you, you would perceive as disrespectful.
Yeah.
That's your perception.
Yeah.
And how you take it.
Yeah.
You know, and you can control that also.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I even had it's funny how conversations can lead to other things. So I had a conversation today with somebody close to me, and I just opened up. I was like, hey, I'm like, you know, yesterday I felt like, I don't know if I was gonna say I felt attacked, but I felt like, you know, it was like I was getting shut down, and it was like I felt like it was somebody that I'm fairly close to, and I said, you know, I felt like I kept getting shut down, and you know, it felt like you didn't care about anything I said, but everybody else that was there. I'm getting pretty like deep into this. This sounds pretty emotional, but I'm just being 100% honest.
I can give you a hug after.
So I was like, listen, this is how I felt, and he explained to me after. First of all, he said sorry. He's like, I'm sorry. And to me, that was huge. It's like, you just don't hear people say that easily, right? It seems like it's a very hard word for a lot of us to say. And then he's like, he explained the situation, and what had happened was the situation we were in. He was really annoyed, not by me, but by somebody else. And so he was frustrated. Mm-hmm. So, and he felt that because he's so close to me, that it was easier to say no to things that I was saying than to anybody else. So you just kept saying no to all these things that I was saying. And whereas the other people, he didn't necessarily want to say it. And it was just, Yeah, he was just frustrated with the situation, and it's just funny because I relate that to myself too. For instance, they say that I've read anger management books in the past because I'm kind of a bit of a yeller. I yell like that's how I grew up in my family. If you were mad, you yell.
Yeah. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
6.
Yeah.
Four sisters and 2 brothers.
Yeah. To be heard, you have to. Speak up.
Italian, not Italian.
Italian?
We're Dutch.
Okay. I was like, no way.
Yeah. So, I can't remember what I was gonna say now. Anyways, I think you get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, yeah. And I find that a lot of the times that's just a reflection. Like, you can be offended by it, but a lot of it's just like a reflection of something that's happening in somebody else's life. And like, good on you for being able to say to a friend, just being like, hey, I kind of felt unheard.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like you weren't listening to me, or I felt that this was like going this direction. And that's awesome that and to be able to have those open conversations with friends and come to a resolution about it, it's rare.
And they're hard to have too.
Yeah. They're uncomfortable.
They're uncomfortable, man. Sometimes the hard conversations are the best conversations. I feel like they're healing if the both sides can go in with, an open mind. So I remembered what I was going to say. So anger management book I read quite a few years ago. It was actually, it might have been Emotional Intelligence, the book called Emotional Intelligence. It was talking about anger stacking. What happens with anger, like people that have like severe anger problems, like that, like severe, like it could get to the point where like it's like murder, like people have severe anger issues.
Absolutely.
And the guy who's writing the book, he said what can happen is somebody cuts you off, so you're kind of angry. Well, then all of a sudden, a cop pulls you over and gives you a ticket. Now you're even more angry. Then your girlfriend calls you an F and A-hole and all this. So now what had happened was the anger stacked. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden there's that release point of, that's what happens oftentimes with people that have anger issues, is that the anger will stack, and then all of a sudden something breaks the camel's back, and all of a sudden you just start freaking out and you lose your shit. And it's like, like just knowing that though, when I read that, I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Yeah. And then seeing how those things can stack. And so when my friend told me that, the anger was kind of stacking for him. Yeah. And I was like, okay, it totally makes sense. Yeah. I got this Atomic Habits book.
Yeah,
we are like 17 hours later.
Yeah, we're like we're pretty deep in there.
We should order some pizza.
I think one thing that I was what I kind of wanted to say with that is that like that kind of like stacking, whether it be like anger or whatever, it manifests this way in many different ways depending on the person. It's like some people will bring it out in anger, and some people, like for me, is how it manifested in my life was anxious thoughts.
Right.
And overthinking. And it's like I just let all this stuff, whereas like I was busy focusing on my business, but I was also in relationships that were stressing me out. And I would just be like, I can't let anything bug me because I have to be so focused on this one thing. And so I'd just be like, I'll deal with it later. Deal with it later. Right. And it just like all this stuff just kept building and building and building, whether it be like a girlfriend or a business partner or members of the gym or people who would just like be like, oh, you know what? You shouldn't, like, nowadays people can't open old school gyms. And like just even those thoughts, right? And it's just like all that kind of stuff is being like, I'm fighting for myself. I was just kind of like, I have so much going on in my own life that I can't deal with all this other stuff in my life. And like, I didn't have any balance. Right. Between like,
Do you feel like it's kind of, I don't know how to ask this question, but do you feel like had you not focused, would this gym have opened? Like, do you feel like it could have been, obviously things could be healthier. Yeah. But like, what do you think?
I find drive-through adversity. Like when someone tells me I can't do something, I'm the type of person that will be like, I'll put like middle fingers on both shoulders and I'll go do it.
Right.
So it's like if someone tells me like, I thrive in adversity. Like, that's cool. And I know that if I'm having a hard time, I focus more.
You use it as fuel for the fire.
Use it as fuel, right? Which can be, I'm proud of what I've done.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I'm like like with everything, even with like with music, how we made that happen. And it's like we had adversity in that, and that's what kept me going in it. And I can't speak for everybody else, but that's what kept me going in it. And like it kept me going through the times where I just wanted to quit the band.
Yeah.
In the gym, it's like it was adversity that made me actually go and lease a building to start a gym.
Wow.
Right. It was a guy that I worked for. He said something that he wasn't racist. He was just very socially awkward, but he said something that came across as racist to someone. And I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I don't want to be associated with this kind of stuff anymore. I don't want people to think that and put my name behind it.
Yeah.
So I literally went on Craigslist and I leased a place that day. And 3 weeks later, I had a gym open.
What? And where did you have some money saved up then, or how did you get?
I had a business partner at the time.
Yeah.
Who he injected some money.
Yeah.
And then I had some equipment already, and because I was building a home gym for myself.
Yeah.
With industrial stuff because I'd managed gyms the whole time anyway. But yeah.
Oh, you were a manager before you.
Yeah, I managed gyms for even like when I was playing music. I got into personal training, and then I got into managing personal training departments, and then I got into managing gyms, and then even like say the franchise that I work for flew me out to Minneapolis, and I helped them design their personal training programs.
And you can't say the name of the franchise?
I can't. I just don't want to.
So how long were you a personal trainer, and then how long were you I think you said something else, and then how long were you a gym manager before you leased? And when you were working for the person, did you say you were doing construction at that time?
I had my own painting company as well.
Right. And
Yeah.
did you have the
And
painting
I was
company
doing
the whole time?
Yeah. So I had the painting company from like the get-go of these kids.
Right. But did
That's
you
when I started
continue the
doing it.
painting company even when you were a gym manager?
I
and
only
all that
stopped
stuff?
doing it a year ago.
Really?
Yeah. I wasn't doing much of it, but I would I would do a little bit, and I would take the odd job here and there, and I just wasn't comfortable enough to like leave it yet because it was like a good little side hustle kind of thing, right? But then I started doing it for a while, and it just became more of a stress because I'm like, I should be at the gym. Like
Right.
my time is more valuable at the gym than it is painting.
Right.
So it was just kind of like, it was just more learning like steps to take in business because like I've always kind of had like an entrepreneurial thing, but it's like this gym is like where I've really been more honing my skills when it comes to like business and like how to manage time, money, people kind of thing, right? But I became a personal trainer. I was into fitness for a couple of years. I was super insecure with like being on camera and in the band. And then, I became a personal trainer fairly quickly because I was
So sorry, go back for a second. You were insecure with being on camera and being in the band. So what do you mean? Like you wanted to have more muscle?
Yeah, I was chubby kid. I had zero muscle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I joined, I was like 5 years into a terrible relationship where it was like there was a lot of mental health issues with my partner, and it involved like she was into self-harm and that kind of stuff. So it's like I spent 5 years like trying to hide like sharp objects in the house kind of thing so that
Wow.
I didn't come home and she was dead.
Right.
So it's like I didn't work out. I just worked hard. I kind of hit a point in my life where it's like, hey, I'm not in high school anymore playing sports, so I'm just I had a landscaping company, and and I just kind of did that, and I lost myself. I went from being an athlete to literally no muscle, no athleticism, nothing.
Right.
Right. So when I joined the band, I was like really insecure. When I saw myself on camera and in the photo shoots, I'm like, I look terrible.
Right.
And it's just myself. Like everybody sees himself differently, but I'm sure that a lot of people would just been like, you look totally fine, like whatever. It was just something I wasn't happy with myself, so I just took to bettering myself.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Atomic Habits, very cool book. One of the things that he says in here that's very inspirational to me is I think it's the 2-minute rule. And one of the things he says in sorry, you probably can't even hear me. One of the things he says in here is the 2-minute rule. And shit, I don't even know where it is, man. Like I said,
Highlights. You even highlight stuff.
I do. I'm really bad. I'm very disrespectful to books. There's
I'm
people that
terrible
would
at it.
hate. I try to underline stuff constantly. So one of the things he says is that when people try to start a new habit, usually what happens is people bite off more than they can chew.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, I'm going to work out an hour every day for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, saying that and then actually doing that is two totally different things. And so I can't remember if it was this book or another, but I think it was a different book. But he was saying one of the hardest things to do is just to get to the gym. So even if you can get into the habit of just getting to the gym or getting through the front door,
Yeah.
like so oftentimes I'll even come here and I'll do like a 15, 20-minute workout.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't care because I still win because I still made it here.
Yeah.
And for me, it's the consistency of just going and like
Yeah.
like I have a bit of a gym in the basement too. That it's not a huge one, but
It's too late.
yeah. On the off days or on some days, if I wake up late or whatever, I'm just in the gym in the basement and I don't come here.
Yeah, yeah.
But so he's talking about a 2-minute rule, and so one of the things is, you do something every day for 2 minutes. I think for 30 days or 60 days, and the point isn't that. So for instance, like if you just did like literally 5 push-ups a day for 30 days, you'd be better off doing like not for you, obviously not for you or somebody who works out regularly, but for somebody who wants to start working out. You do 5 push-ups a day for 30 days, you're going to be better off than just sitting there going, oh, I'm going to wait until this and I'm going to wait until that, or I got to get a membership at the gym.
Yeah.
Even though it sounds pathetic and you probably wouldn't want to tell anybody I'm doing 5 push-ups a day because they're probably going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
But the point is that you're into a habit. And if you can keep that habit going for an entire year of 5 push-ups a day, you're going to be, you'll probably be doing 100 push-ups a day.
And that literally goes back into like what we're saying with routine and discipline.
Yeah.
Like the way that you achieve your goals is through routine and discipline.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you obviously have to know your values before you get into something, like what you're going to stand for, who you want to surround yourself with, who is going to be your support system. But like setting that routine where you're like, okay, well, I need to change my life and I need to get in better shape. So I promise myself I'm going to do 5 push-ups every single morning. First thing when I wake up, it's going to get my blood moving. And it's just going to get me off my ass so that like it kicks my heart rate up a little bit, right? And it's going to make me feel alive for a few more minutes, right?
Yeah.
But that creates a ritual.
Yeah.
And that creates discipline. And
Yeah.
then, but the same thing goes like when you go to set a goal for yourself, it's like you write down that goal and you write down the small action steps that need to be taken daily to reach that point. And it's the same thing as practicing those 5 push-ups to be like, okay, this. I need to make my bed. I need to get out. I need to meditate. I need to practice gratitude. And then these are the things I need to get done in a day.
Yeah.
Boom, right.
Yeah.
And if you keep on consistently doing those with like through consistency and discipline and all that good stuff, it's like you'll reach your goal. But the moment where you say you're going to do something and then you don't do it, you're now lying to yourself.
Right.
And then you're now losing credibility with yourself.
So I struggle with getting up in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those guys. I remember early in the podcast you were saying, you know, some people get up at 4 and they go to bed at 9. That's, to me, the perfect day for me is up at 4, bed at 9.
Yeah.
But I usually don't do that. Like lately I've been getting up at 5:30. And to me, I'm like, I don't like that. I'd rather be getting up at 4 and going to bed at 9.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the night gets busy and then I work till 10 or I work till 10:30 or 11. And then I'm like, well, do I want to get up at 4? Then I'm only got 5 hours of sleep, blah, blah, blah. So one of the things I started doing recently, now this doesn't work very well in a situation with a family like I have.
Yeah.
So with my wife, and we got the 4 kids, right? So the 3 still live at home, Patience, Faith, and Dayton. And then my wife, Ricarda. And Isaiah got married this summer to Natasha, and they live in Abbotsford. So I started setting my alarm, but I put it in the kitchen.
Yep.
And the kitchen is down the stairs, and I put it in the farthest place of the kitchen.
Yeah.
So for the last 2.5 weeks, the alarm's been going off in the kitchen. So my wife is pissed at me.
Yeah.
My kids are pissed at me. Everybody's pissed at me. But I'm like, guys, look at the light at the end of the tunnel here. Once I get this and I'm up early, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out a way. Because what I was doing is that I'd have the alarm.
You need the 3-2-1.
I think the 3-2-1.
You need the 3-2-1.
Is there a
you know how I screwed up? Is I put Google through my whole house. So I just be like, hey, Google, set alarm for this time. And then if I'm like, I can literally have my head on the pillow with my eyes closed and I can be like, hey, Google, turn off. Like I don't even have to get up to do anything. I'm like I don't even have to like roll over to turn anything off.
That is dangerous.
Yeah, so I like it's the same kind of thing for me. So it's like with that kind of system, I just have to I set my alarm and I just use the 3-2-1. Whenever any alarm goes off, I like don't hit snooze.
Right.
Like I won't do it because it's like I set that alarm with an intention.
Right. Yeah, that's hard, man.
Yeah.
we were looking at so my daughter's boyfriend. I was showing everybody how many alarm. We were hanging out on a week or two ago. I was showing everybody how many alarms I have set on my iPhone. And I was like, look at how many alarms I have set, right? So 3:30, 4:30, 4:40,
It just looks like you hit snooze a lot.
Yeah, and so I got all these times there. But then they show me their phones. It's like 5:05, 5:10, 5:12, 5:15. I'm like, they're like 100, hundreds of alarms.
Just to wake up, they turn on like 6 of them.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, that's insanity.
Yeah.
I'm like, because like, whatever. I mean, like, if it works for some people, it works for some people. But I just know, like, through habits of successful people, that's not how you roll.
Not the way to do it.
That's not how you roll.
So now another thing is with the alarm in the kitchen, it sucks in a family. I'm hoping there's a way that this will turn out where it becomes a habitual habit where I get up at either 4 or 4:30 or 5 or 5:30 every morning, and I don't have to wake up the entire family by my stupid alarm in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But why I have it in the kitchen? So if I was a single man, the reason it's in the kitchen is because now I've gone all the way down the stairs. I had to go into the kitchen, turn the coffee pot on, or I'm drinking tea now. I turn the teapot on, turn off my alarm. And then I'm going to walk all the way back upstairs. So now my blood is actually flowing a little more because I had to, the part of the...
How many times have you made that journey all the way down to your kitchen, all the way down to turn it off, and turned around and walked all the way back up the stairs and back into bed?
I believe once in the last 2.5 weeks.
That's a lot of effort.
What?
That's a lot of effort to like go walk all the way down there and just be like, because you literally...
I think it was on a weekend. I think it was a Saturday or Sunday.
This is an Andy Frisella term, the inner bitch. Like, you've heard that term before. It's like,
now I have.
Your inner
earlier in this podcast.
Like, your inner bitch had to be super strong. Be like, I'm gonna take all those steps back up to bed, crawl back up.
Yeah.
If you hit snooze, you're probably a bigger asshole to your family.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be even more mad. So, but one of the things that he talks about in this Atomic Habits book is that he says, if you want to start a good habit, make it easy to do. And it sounds really easy, but the way he breaks it down here is just phenomenal. Yeah. If you want to start a good habit, make it easy to do. If you want to get rid of a bad habit, make it hard to do. So, for instance, say you're an alcoholic. I'm not saying you or me or either. I know. Yeah,
we've had our moments.
Especially on tour. So, if you want to slow down on alcohol, you make the alcohol harder to grab, harder to find. You put it in the back of the fridge so you don't see it's not the first thing that you grab in the fridge. There's another thing, too, is like with the veggies. It's like the veggies should be in the open. They shouldn't be in the drawers.
Yeah.
But everybody puts their veggies in the drawers. We do, too. But it's like, if you want to eat healthy, then. Another thing I was going to ask you, going back, you want to cut you can edit it, can't you?
No, we're all good.
You're embarrassed because we're taking.
I'm just nervous it's actually gonna cut again.
Oh, shut up!
That's why I'm looking for it to be like out of space again, which was super weird.
We're gonna lose all the juicy stuff. Favorite moment on tour, or most memorable? Some of your most memorable or most favorite moments on tour.
Oh man, I would say memorable moments. I find the night before we shot the I Want to Dance with Someone music video.
Where'd you shoot it?
Toronto.
Cool.
In just we were in a field, right, that had like a little patch of concrete. So we did these like live, it was like in a rural area too. So we did these like live playing, but we're on the concrete and whatnot, or they pulled up a school bus and we were in the school bus recording a music video kind of thing. And we got so, like, do you remember Charlotte Thompson? So Charlotte Thompson was our publicist.
Right.
And she had this great idea. So there's 6 of us in the band. You know all of us, and you know that we like to have a good time. And so she was like, we flew into Toronto, and we're shooting this music video the next day. And she's like, hey, you guys can't drink today. You have a big day tomorrow. However, we have an event that we have to go to that's open bar.
Oh, my word.
Exactly.
Oh, man.
So that was pretty much the response we had.
Yeah.
We're like, this only goes one way, Charlotte. Like, this is a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
Right? So
6 dudes in a pop punk band.
Yeah. So it was hilarious because we were like, that's not going to happen. So we went there and we had every intention of like we're just gonna have a couple drinks, then we're gonna go back, get a good night's sleep before. Wildest night of our lives. like it was so much fun. Like that was when I
Remember where it was? Like the event was?
no, I just know there was
The Drake event, was it? Did you go to one of the Drake events?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
But no, George Trombolopoulos was there.
Right.
And it was the first time I'd ever met George Trombolopoulos, and I was like half cut already. And I was like, there's red carpets, and there's people I never like. Dallas Green was there. Like there's people I never thought that I would ever meet. Like growing up when I was 16 playing Blink-182 covers, I'm like I never thought that I'd be in the room with these people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like George Trombolopoulos to me is much loud.
Yeah.
You know, it's like he's the guy who introduced me to most of the bands I ever listened to growing up.
Right.
So there was that, and then we pretty much just started getting kind of like wild there. And then someone was like, "Hey, let's go to this bar," and it was this bar that we frequented, and it was like I don't remember what it was called. It was in
Sneakers?
Yorkville. No, it was in Yorkville, but it was this rooftop pub that we all thought was like really cool. And people from like MTV had taken us there one time, and so we just kind of always went up there, and we just started ordering bottles.
Oh.
And we're just like, and it was just a mess. And I remember I was probably one of the first ones to leave. I think I left with like Mitchie, our drummer. And then we ended up back at the hotel. Then Alan kind of rolled back in, but Alan was pissed because we went out with like, and I don't know, maybe we were just,
Like he was pissed drunk or pissed
no,
mad?
he was pissed mad.
Oh,
and he had to take on the whole bill for the night. Because he was the last one to leave.
But I thought it was open bar. Oh, the second bar was an open bar.
Second place was not open bar where we were ordering bottles, but like we had our label was with us, we had our management was there, and so just as like entitled band guys, we were like, oh, they got us, you know. So Alan walked away. It was like a $1,500 bill, and it was like a couple of the guys, like we had no idea where they were, and like we were terrible at answering our phones, like everybody was. So it's like, I mean, you know how it is on tour. It's like half the guys' phones are dead or they haven't paid their bills, so they're turned off. And it's like, so we're trying to locate these people. I was the only one that made van call, like as per usual.
Right.
Like I would be the guy who's like, I have to be there on time, even if I'm throwing up, even if I'm like, you know, it's like, so like I just wouldn't be late for stuff. So it's like, yeah, so we had to drive around Toronto in like our shuttle to the music video to try to find people to take them to the video shoot. And we all passed out in this field, this tall grass. And it was like, that was one of the funniest things because we were doing interviews that morning too, like while we're there. And we're all still just like,
drunk and hungover.
So it's like I do this often where I actually go on YouTube and I reminisce and I go and I look at all the videos and be like, oh, back when I was young, right? And it was like, and I just watched like the answers that we're giving and like the answers that I gave to these questions, and it's just like I just find it so funny because I knew the state we were in, and I was like right behind. Like I remember, like I was doing this interview sitting in a chair like this, and a microphone in my face. I knew that Alan was like 2 feet behind me, literally passed out with all of our guitars stacked on top of him, right? And he's just like in the grass. So that's probably one of my favorite memories. Was just like the chaos of all that. Yeah. But it was just such a good night because we just like we kind of lived that night like no fucks given.
Right.
Like we're like. More bottles, more bottles, more bottles.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. How about you? What was your favorite?
You
guys stiffed me with the bill.
Did we really?
You stiffed me with the bill.
What do you mean?
In Vancouver. You guys played the P&E. And we ended up all going out after. Like Cricket was there. JP was there. I think this is even when Katie Babcock was around.
Right.
And like we went to... it was like a bar on Granville Street where we walked up. We had to walk upstairs to get there, and there was like a CFL team that was partying there and whatnot. And yeah, Andrew, I'm just gonna blame Andrew. He was just ordering bottles, and he told everybody, "Oh, this is paid for. This is paid for." You cabbed home back to Mission from downtown Vancouver.
Oh shit!
And because I was panicking because like you were my responsibility. Because like I was working for your band, so I was like, well, Dave's the boss. I got to make sure like he's okay. And you just vanished. But when I finally got a hold of you, you were like, I'm cabbing back to there. But anyway, I got stuck with like, and this is back when we were broke. Like I was still like very broke, but it was like,
did we pay you back?
I think,
what happened?
I think Cricket did. I think Cricket sent me some money for it, but it was like, yeah, I was like,
do you remember?
They're like, here's your $700 bill for the night, and I was just kind of like broke traveling musician, being like. guys.
Was that when we were actually on tour then?
No, it was just
like a-
it was
was-
one off
was
like
it
summer
one-off?
show. Yeah, it was. You guys played. Hot Shell Ray played as well. At the P&E.
Oh, is that the? It was out. It was a smaller stage, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they played a bigger stage and we all went and watched it. I still have a picture of all of us there. Like we ended up taking a picture with like Hot Shell Ray playing behind us because we like at the same time we like loved music. We were still fangirls at the same time. But it was like, yeah, it was good. That was a good memory too. Actually, that was a really fun day.
Right.
But yeah, what was your favorite memory?
I got a couple favorites. One was definitely when we were in the Sea Fox Seeds, and it was right in the middle of recording with Joey Moy at Nickelback studio in Abbotsford with Chad. Chad Kruger was it was at his house, the studio, hanging out with those guys. Chad's such a fun time, and we were in the Battle of the Bands, the Seeds competition for 99.3 The Fox, and we ended up winning, and that was one of the best nights that I like. Winning that night was such a big thing for us because it was like we were working so hard. We were literally practicing like 6 nights a week. It was pretty harsh. Like we were like fighting, like I was like almost yelling at the guys to practice. It was pretty bad. Yeah. But it came out in our live show. We were freaking tight. Like we put on like a killer live show. I felt at that point in time, and like, and when we got first place and they announced it was like, and I remember being drunk and like going up to the stage to accept the award, and I was like so drunk, and I think it was Todd Hancock who handed it to us. But that was one of my favorite memories. Another one was in Bell Center, Montreal, opening for Simple Plan. That was crazy. Sold out.
Did we
show.
do that together?
I don't know. Were you guys there?
We did that too.
out?
It was sold out. It was sold out. That was the first time we ever played I Want to Dance with Somebody. I don't remember. I think
So maybe it was these kids' Faber Drive and
I don't remember that ever
Simple
happening.
Plan.
I think it was
two nights were sold out.
Yeah. Okay. So that wasn't us then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
Oh, really?
We were with All Time Low and Mariana Trench.
Oh, really? You
And-
played with All
and-
Time Low.
Yeah, we did a whole tour across Canada with them. We actually bailed on the tour. We bailed on the tour to go to Australia to tour with like on Soundwave with like Limp Bizkit and Marilyn Manson and like Stained was there, and it was
What was
nuts.
that like?
Insane. Like that was
Was that good or bad?
that was the peak for me.
But hold on a second. If you're a pop punk band opening for
We had a double platinum single in Australia though.
so
We were bigger
So
we
the
were
kids
much
knew,
bigger there.
but you weren't getting any hate. Like we did a show in Newfoundland one time opening for 3 Days Grace, and we got bottled.
No, I just feel like Canada and the States, whether it's because they're younger countries or whatever, I don't even know how old Australia is, to be honest. But I just feel like
They're more accepting.
That kind of, I feel like they're more accepting and they just love music. So
Right.
it was like Angels and Airwaves were playing, and then Slipknot was playing, but it was all different stages because it was like a big festival, kind of like Warped Tour was.
Right,
So we
right.
were on a stage where we
was it
played
more of a
with, like,
pop punk stage? Like you weren't direct support for Slipknot.
No, I wish. But that was like a crazy experience because it's like I remember seeing Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit like driving around in a golf cart and he's like trying to pick up like the Monster Energy drink girls and stuff. And I was like, he's got a big gray beard. I'm like, this is how I want to live my life. I was like, but like that was great too.
That's
But
amazing.
yeah, those sold out shows at the Bell Center, especially because that's Simple Plan's hometown.
yeah.
Like that was insane. That's one picture that I kept, just to say I played to this crowd.
Wow.
And I climbed way up into the rafters.
No way,
Yeah,
really?
So I climbed way up
I
there.
wanna see that picture.
with one of the guys from with Zach from All Time Low.
Really?
Him and I went up there because we both wanted pictures of it, and it's just like literally just like you can see the stage, and it was probably while Simple Plan was playing too, so we were already done. But just like all the lights hitting the crowd, and it was just like how many Was that 15,000 people?
Yeah,
or
it
was
was
it
four, I remember it being 14,000.
Yeah, it was up there. It was like, but sold out.
Yeah.
Like weeks in advance.
And like I just remember
That's-
looking out and the stacks of people.
That night is one of my favorite nights, absolutely, because that's where we went into the basement, into the green rooms and whatnot. They actually rented out a conference room for us in there on the date of that show, and that's where our whole label and management team all met us there and surprised us there with all of our plaques.
No way.
Yeah, so they're like, I've got a whole bunch of pictures there with like all of the. With all of them as well, where they presented our plaques to us and everything like that
That's
for like
so
going
cool.
double platinum and gold and
Yeah.
we hadn't had any plaques to that point, but we got awarded with 3 that night.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
incredible.
and then that's also the night. That's also the same day Whitney Houston died, and the same night we played "I Want to Dance with Somebody" for the first time. So
Whoa.
so a lot was going on. So
That's heavy.
so right before we went on stage, we're talking like 5 minutes. Charlotte, our publicist, runs out and she's like, "You can't play that song." She's like, "Whitney Houston just died." And is built into our tracks. And being that we were in Montreal, we had a half French version of it too. So we had even arranged for the half French version to be played. And the girl who did the duet with Alex for the French version, she was there and she was ready to run out on stage with us. And so we're like, you know what? We're not taking it out of the set. Alex ran out there like 10 seconds early and he's like, "Hey, we just heard the news that Whitney Houston just passed away. This goes out to her."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so that's how we introduced "I Want to Dance with Somebody."
Wow, crazy. What a crazy story. Yeah, that song was your second your second biggest song.
We
right?
started with "Break It Up," and "Break It Up" got us onto like Much Music, and that's the song that we led with, and then but "Jumpstart" was the one that like.
Okay. So I want to go back to the train in a second.
Oh, no.
But hold on. Before we go there, I got to explain the bottle story. So we were opening for 3 Days Grace in Newfoundland. I think it was called Salmon Fest, and I think we were direct support to 3 Days Grace. I think we were. We might not have been, but we're playing, right? We're rocking out up there, and I'm like, okay, I'm telling our sound guy, make sure you keep the drums nice and loud, the guitars nice and loud, right? And anyways, so then a couple bottles start getting thrown up, right? We're like halfway through our set, and then a couple more start getting thrown, and then I'm like, I run back to I think it was Strickle at the time. I was like, keep an eye on the crowd. I told the boys, I run over them like, don't take your eyes off the crowd. Like I'm just kind of yelling in there. You know what it's like when you're yelling on stage at your guitar player, your drummer, or whatever. And so we're standing there, and we're watching, and all of a sudden another bottle comes flying at me, and I grab it in midair, and I'm like, cheers, bro, thank you. And then I just threw it down on the stage, just something stupid, right? There was no more bottles thrown after that. I don't know what it was because I think it was just like a knee-jerk reaction. This bottle came flying, and I just grabbed it. Like I stopped playing guitar and grabbed it and threw it down, and I think we maybe somewhat earned their respect.
Won the crowd.
Won the crowd.
Yeah.
But after that, I was so pissed and so upset. I'm like, we got bottle. We should have never done this show. Like, why are we opening for 3 Days Grace? They're a hard rock band. We're a pop punk band. And I went online, like, as soon as we got off the show, and I'm all pissed off and everything. And I started looking up bands that got bottled. AC/DC, Metallica, Nickelback. Basically every band that's ever been successful, not that Faber Drive was ever even close to any of those, like, that level of bands, but Rolling Stones, like, they've all been bottled. Yeah. And I was like,
there's videos.
Okay, that's just part of it. That's just
video
part of
of
being
Chad
in a band.
Kroger. Chad Kroger got rocks thrown at him. I think he even got hit with a rock.
Yeah.
And he was at the point where he's like, "Fuck this." He's like, "You guys want to throw rocks? We're not going to play for you."
Yeah.
And he just walked off the stage.
Yeah, I remember seeing that video.
Yeah, and like I love those videos. I don't know if they're edited. There's one video that I just remember seeing constantly posted on Instagram when Instagram first came out of someone actually had like a cup full of a drink, and you just see someone throw it and it flies across, and the singer of the band that's playing literally catches it like this. And slams it back. Right? And I was just kind of like, oh, I want to do that one day. I had bras thrown at me, and I was at that point, I was like, hell yeah. You know, like, I don't ever remember seeing like any nudity from stage. I don't think I was ever flashed or anything like that, but I remember bras being thrown up, and I remember I'm like, I'm hanging these on my microphone.
Okay. I got two stories. I want to go to the train, but before we go to the train,
like my train, like when I was on the train.
Yeah, the train. So we don't have to go there if it's
no, it's totally fine.
I just think it's an interesting story, and that was back in the Mark Spiculuk days and all that stuff. That was like the Much thing, right?
Can I say what we called him?
I don't know.
You
It's
ever
your
heard what we call them?
It's your podcast. I don't know what you call them.
So we kind of got. I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah.
It was derogatory.
Yeah. Okay. So this is another memory of being on stage. We were playing in Abbotsford outside Seven Oaks Shopping Center, the mall, and it was like this festival. And they were like, "Yeah, we want you guys to play Faber Drive. You guys can play in the parking lot." And it was awesome. We set up in the parking lot. We played the show. And halfway through the show, a bra comes flying up. So I grab it out of air, and I'm like, just as I grab it, I'm about to say something. My mom jumps on the stage, and she yells in the microphone, "That's disgusting, David!" And I'm like, I was like just speechless. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, everybody say hi to my mom. And then the crowd just went ape, right? And I give her a big hug, and then she walks off the stage. But that was super memorable for me.
Yeah. I'm sure that if my parents were there, they just would have been so disappointed. I think at one point, like, because Gypsy and I, well, we were all like, when bras, I just feel like it was kind of just like a little bit of a thing for like a little bit, but like our fan base is pretty young. So I don't think I ever saw flashing or anything, but I think they just thought it was funny to throw bras up. But yeah, whoever it was, we were just hanging them on our mic stands. I'm like, I kind of feel like Blink-182 right now, but singing toddler pop, And it's like, so it was kind of funny.
Train. Or is it lame?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I just think it's such a cool story. Like that's because that's the first time that I think that I had heard about you guys was this whole train thing. I think maybe not, but I'm pretty sure
that's when we got on TV. We had only done one tour before we did that.
And that whole show was show on TV. What was the name of the show?
Much Music Disband.
Much Music Disband, right?
Yeah.
And so you guys were told to put on a train. You're going to be filmed the whole time. And what are you guys supposed to do? You're just riding this train? Were you guys supposed to write songs?
Yeah.
And it was from Vancouver to Toronto.
Vancouver to Toronto. And we did
train.
have to take like a little bit of flight because there was a train derailment. Not our train didn't derail, but there was a train derailment. We had to fly from Winnipeg.
How long of a train ride would that have been
Edmonton to Winnipeg or something?
From Vancouver to Toronto if you were to go straight?
Probably the same as driving because it takes the same
24 hours? 48 hours?
Oh no, I think it was like a 50 to 55 hour drive to drive from Vancouver to
Toronto. That's how big Canada is, folks.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was okay. So every single band on that show had a producer assigned to them from Much Music.
Right.
So we had ours. Her name was Dee Hambley, a gem. I more so got along with her afterwards because I was still at the point where I didn't want to be on film because I was just like I wasn't happy with how I looked.
Oh.
So I was like standoffish with her. I was like, get away from me with your cameras. Like they would try to wake us up and have like those dramatic reality TV moments.
Yeah.
Or be like, put a camera in your face and that's how you wake up. And it's like, I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
Right? I ended up like locking my cabin door in the train and stacking my bags against it because I didn't want to be woken up like that.
Right.
But anyway, so
you wanted to put your makeup on first.
Yeah. I wanted to do some push-ups. I needed a pump. But our theme was trains, planes, and automobiles.
Right.
Right. So what ended up happening, and it was just kind of convenient, is that we were on the train. We had a couple tasks. We even had to play for like the people on the train, like on the drive. Like we played shows for them and whatnot. But they're like, you have to write a song right now, and in like 30 minutes, you're gonna go in front of everybody on the train who wants to come, and you're gonna play the song in front of them.
What?
Right. So I was like, I mean, it's kind of like played up a little bit on TV, but it's fairly accurate. Like I actually paid to download our episode so that I could watch it again.
Really?
Yeah. And,
is it still available?
Yeah, they're still available. It's available on like iTunes Store.
Oh, dude, I gotta watch that when I get home and write it down.
Yeah, so you can find it.
Where's my wife calling me?
Yeah, so we ended up, there was a train derailment. I want to say it was in like Alberta or Saskatchewan somewhere, and we flew from there to Winnipeg, got on another train in Winnipeg, and then did the rest of the drive to Toronto. And then it was good. And then we did like the Much Music thing. We did the show.
Was there alcohol on the train?
We brought alcohol because we had to.
Did you guys sneak it in?
No, we're of age.
Yeah, but if it's a public train that doesn't serve alcohol, wouldn't that be?
No, they had a bar in the back.
Oh, okay.
They had a bar in the back, but you could bring it in and whatnot, and we did. We stopped in like Jasper and whatnot, and and we picked up alcohol there.
I still
and
think
whatnot,
that's a freaking genius idea, man. I
Yeah.
think like we should, I don't know, find some young pop punk band, be like, we're gonna pay you to,
Yeah.
we're gonna shoot you a reality TV show of you guys on a train writing
Yeah.
songs.
It was interesting. Like that's we got a free train across Canada, and half the reason was they were broke and they wanted us to get to Ontario. So they searched for ways to get us to Ontario, and to find ways to make a cool TV show around it.
That's so much cooler than an airplane.
So yeah, so they
What are you gonna do? Shoot a camera on an airplane for 5 minutes, or shoot on a train for 5 days?
Yeah, so they contacted Via Rail, and Via Rail was like, "Yeah, we'll sponsor this band."
What?
Yeah, and they sponsored all the Much Music people that came with us, which was only like one or two. Greg Norrie was with us.
Oh, right.
From Treble Charger.
Yeah. I've written with him.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a
I have
cool
a
guy.
picture of you, Alan, Matt, Alex, and Greg Norrie in the basement of Sneaky D's, just blasted drunk. And just like Alan and Alex are peeing in the urinals, just like leaning back, smiling for the picture. And I'll find it for you. And I'll get it to you.
I want to
It's
see
so
the one
funny.
too that you took of Symbol Planet in the Bell Center.
Yeah,
Do you have that one too?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're all on my like Facebook and stuff, so I can dig them up.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, it's the train thing was awesome. It was a good experience. I don't think that would be my preferred mode of transportation across Canada ever again, which is why they invented cars and planes.
But you had beds on there, right?
yeah, we had bunks. Yeah, we rode first class.
There's such thing as a first class?
Yeah, so
On a train?
there's literally seats in the front of those planes, which this would be absolutely terrible. If you had to go from Vancouver all the way to Toronto, you get one seat like you buy on a plane. And you can take that. And anybody would ever do that, but there was people that did that. But you got on Via Rail and you sat in that one seat. That's your spot. That's where you stay for the entire trip.
For however many days.
For however
on
many
this
days
train.
it takes you to get there. And so for us, we had bunks. We had 2 people to a room. So it was kind of like rooms, right? Very small, just kind of like.
So how is it then? So is there a hallway in the middle?
Yeah, so there's as the train goes back farther, it goes like I guess first class would be at the back and like whatever class is up front.
Right. And so first class is at the back, but what's the room look like? Like is there a hallway and then a room on the one side, or is there a hallway in the middle and there's a room on each side?
There's a room. There's a hallway, right, with windows going to the outside.
Yeah.
And then right on, say if you're walking towards the back of the train on the left side, that's where the room doors are. So the rooms were all on one side of the train.
Right. And there's enough room to like get in there and get in your bunk kind of thing.
Yeah.
Crazy.
The crazier ride was the ride home, to be honest, because some of us took the train home.
Right.
And that's something I kind of forget about, but we got sponsored by Red Bull. I've never drank so much Red Bull. And do you know what also goes really good with Red Bull?
Oh, vodka. No.
Jägermeister.
Oh, right.
So we ended up actually buying, I think we bought like 4 or 5 2.6s of Jaeger, and we had 3 flats of
Red Bull.
And by like the second day or the third day of the trip, I just remember my stomach hurt so bad. And I stayed in bed for like the last bit, but all we were doing the entire way home was Jaeger bombs.
Wow.
So,
Wow, man.
But yeah, I mean, we're going along. We've almost gone 2 hours at this point.
Crazy. Is that your longest? Did we break the record?
We broke the record by
Nice.
far, yeah. So
Awesome.
I think we can call that there. We got some cool stories. We got some motivational stuff. What's one tip you have? The main thing for someone that's had a career as long as you have in a industry that's as hard as the music industry is, if you had to talk to your 20-year-old self, but one thing to stay true to, what would it be?
Jesus.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Jesus
having
is-
faith.
Yeah, having faith in Jesus. Yeah, man. He's the savior of the world, and he's blessed me, and I know it. I know that. I'm not saying that like I know I've been blessed and I'm this amazing.
Yeah.
I don't mean that by any means. I just know that the blessings that I've had in my life, they come from God and they come from Jesus, and like I'm very thankful to him for that, and he's been awesome, man. There's been times like I just feel like he's always there. Like I'll be driving in my car and I feel so alone, and I'll just start talking to him and I'll pray and I'll break down and cry, and like and then I've had times where I'm in my car by myself driving down the road and I'll break down and cry because I'm just so thankful.
Yeah.
And it's like you know, the thing you're talking about in the mornings where your gratitude.
Yeah.
Like, and yeah, absolutely God.
Yeah.
Yeah, God and Jesus. And in that, you know, the consistency of like, like throughout the years, you guys had seen it too, I'm sure. You know, in the years that you guys were a band, how many bands did we see come and go? There's so many bands that come and go. And I remember when I was a teenager, I was probably like 16 years old in the studio in Vancouver. We were recording at a studio called Deadbeat with my first band called Total Jids. And I said to the guy, I'm like, he was the producer there. I was like, so how does a band make it? What do you do? He's like, don't break up. I'm like, what? Like, I was a 16-year-old kid. I didn't know. I was like, what do you mean don't break up? And then he's like, don't break up. And then, you know, years later, it's that he was talking about the consistency. Don't break up. Keep going. Keep going. You look at all the greats, man. They stuck it out. Like a lot of them anyways, right?
That's probably like the greatest piece of advice you got. Well, dude, to be honest.
In the years, yeah.
Yeah.
In the years of...
It's just a roundabout way of saying stay consistent. Just
Yeah.
keep going. Just keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's perfect to round it out. It's just like the consistency that you have to reach success. And then you also have your personal values. Like you said, like for you, it's like, it's Jesus, right? And having that belief that someone was always there watching you. And then I also know you that you can be kind of OCD a little bit on stage and with the shows. And I think that reflected like with how much your band practiced before tours, with how much that kind of stuff. Cause I remember working for you guys and I was like, Faber, shut up. I'm like, we got this. Like, this is already all set up. We got this. Like, stop worrying, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
kind of a worrier, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny?
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm going to say the rumor that I heard
Yep.
about how you came up with Faber Drive.
Okay.
Your band name.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, I'm just going to ask if it's true. Because I heard that you were driving in a car with Cricket. No, it wouldn't have been with Cricket.
Red Bull.
Okay.
Raymond.
Okay, so you were driving.
first
You were
drummer.
driving, and you were actually the person driving.
Yeah.
And you ended up having like an idea, and you actually were driving with an acoustic guitar in your hand,
Yep.
and the guy just yelled "Faber Drive."
Yeah. So that's not 100% true.
Okay, I was like, how did you not get the ticket?
but okay. So parts of it are true.
Yeah.
So there was a long time. There was probably about, I'd say a year, maybe a year and a half, where I was driving with an acoustic guitar in my passenger seat, and I'd put it on my lap. And the only reason I don't do it now is because I have a massive console in the middle of my Mazda 3, so I can't fit an acoustic guitar in there. And I know it sounds crazy, and I know I'd get a ticket, but when I'm doing it, when I used to do it, I haven't done it in years because I haven't had a vehicle that I could do it with, is I was very, very cautious of my surroundings. I wasn't like in a yeah, I know it sounds. Leave it for the professionals, all right?
No, that's awesome.
So that's partially true. And then another thing I remember, Raymond, the guy, our Red Bull, our original drummer, he's my brother-in-law. He almost crashed on our drive to work one day. We were doing construction early on in the Faber Drive days because I'd play guitar in the back seat. I'd make him drive, and I'd be in the back seat playing acoustic guitar. And then he fell asleep one time, and then he's driving off the road. I'm like, Ray! He's like, what? And he's like, dude, you're putting me to sleep. You're playing this gentle, like calm, smooth sounding guitar. And it's like blackout in the morning, and he passed out. It's kind of funny.
Yeah. So he yelled "Faber Drive." Like he wanted you to.
No,
Is that just
no,
a rumor?
that was kind of a made up story because I was driving around. Our very first video.
So how did you come up with Faber Drive?
Faber Drive. We couldn't think of a name, and everybody used to make fun of how I would drive because there's a video called Chapter 1, Faber Drive Chapter 1 on and I used to like, before texting and driving was illegal, I'd be texting and driving and with a guitar on my lap and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they always thought I was a crazy driver, and so they were just like, you know, we originally had the band Faber, but our lawyer, Chris Taylor, who's my co-manager now, he strongly suggested against the name Faber because he said there's a whole bunch of companies around the world called Faber. And one of the best things you can do when you're naming something is it should be something that is a made-up word is kind of the best thing, but it almost has to be something that nobody else has used before.
Yeah.
Which is very hard when you're using like a common name. But Faber Drive we changed it to Faber Drive because Faber had been used, and then Faber Drive. To this day, I'm still like, it's like, I don't know. Is it the greatest name? I don't think, because there's, you know, Emerson Drive. There's a bunch of bands with Drive in the name.
It worked.
Isn't there? Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. Cool.
The symbol. That's the reason. The big thing was the symbol.
Yeah.
Because the A and the V, do you remember the symbol?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was one of the main reasons I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't want to lose that symbol. One of our designers early on gave us that symbol, and I was like, that's a cool symbol.
Yeah.
Almost looks like a yin and yang type thing or something.
Yeah. No, it's great. Well, I'm super glad we sat down because we haven't like actually sat down and had a conversation in a long time. Like we've talked in the gym, like we've trained a little bit here and there, but it's like, yeah, it's the reminiscing, and then I just know that I had like lots to talk to you about, like with your career and like how long I've known you and how long I've known of you as a musician. It's like and where you're at now. I'm like I just think you're in a really cool spot, and I think that you have a lot of value that you can add to people. Whereas in like if someone's wanting to do what you did, it's like you're a good person to watch. You know, it's like you had a long career, right? I mean,
yeah. Thanks, brother.
None of us are rich, but it's like, but the longevity of the career and just like following your passions and doing what you want for your life. It's like that's who can ask for more than that.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if I'm doing that, I don't need to be rich. I'm like I'm happy.
Yeah.
You know. So
absolutely.
I got to live a life where I got to chase my passions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
I'm gonna shake your hand. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah, bro.